Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive. This time we're taking a look at Akira, the manga, the one that inspired that incredible anime film.
Yeah, Akira. It's been pretty influential, hasn't it? I mean, even if you haven't actually read the manga itself, it's like the template for Cyberpunk almost.
Totally. And today we're going to really dig into what makes it so special, so captivating. And to do that, we've got a ton of great source material, articles, video transcripts, even some panels straight from the manga.
Oh, wow.
So first things first, let's set the stage. Can you give us a quick overview of the world of Akira?
Okay, so imagine Neo-Tokyo. It's 2019, and the city, this sprawling metropolis, has been rebuilt on top of the ruins of old Tokyo, which was destroyed like 30 years earlier in a mysterious explosion.
Oh, wow.
And the city's really this powder keg. There's social unrest, government conspiracies, and these teenagers running around with incredible psychic abilities. But they're also incredibly dangerous.
So it's a society on edge, haunted by this devastating past, trying to rebuild, but also struggling to deal with these powerful forces they don't even understand.
Right.
And into this world, Otomo throws us headfirst into the Capsule Gang, this biker gang with a serious rebellious streak.
Exactly.
And within the gang, there are two key characters, right? Kaneda, the hot-headed leader, always pushing the limits. And then there's Tetsuo, his best friend, who always seems to be kind of in Kaneda's shadow. There's this tension between them, this mix of loyalty and rivalry that I thought was really interesting right from the start. What did you pick up on in their dynamic?
Well, I think their relationship is really at the core of Akira.
Yeah.
I mean, you can even say it's the key to really understanding the story, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Tetsuo isn't just a sidekick. He's almost like a reflection of Kaneda's insecurities. Like, he craves the same power and recognition that Kaneda just seems to command so effortlessly.
Right.
And it's this longing and this resentment that ultimately makes him so vulnerable to the forces that eventually consume him.
And Otomo doesn't just tell us about this dynamic, right? He shows us through these little visual cues, these moments that reveal so much about their relationship.
Oh, yeah.
Like early on, there's that scene where they're riding their motorcycles to the ruins of old Tokyo, and it's more than just a cool chase sequence.
Oh, absolutely.
What do you think Otomo is doing with that scene?
It's visual storytelling at its finest, would
Yeah.
you say? It's like this metaphor for their whole journey. They're literally on the edge of this massive crater, this gaping reminder of the past's destructive power.
Yeah.
And I think on a deeper level, it also foreshadows the path that Tetsuo is about to go down, this destructive path.
Wow, I didn't even catch that. That's some serious foreshadowing.
Right.
But okay, let's get to the inciting incident, the event that really kicks off the whole story. Tetsuo has this accident, and it's not just any accident. It involves this creepy kid with psychic powers.
Number 26, right?
Yeah, number 26. Who is this kid?
Well, he's this enigmatic figure, a child, but he looks like an old man, and he just radiates this aura of power, but also vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment Tetsuo comes into contact with him, boom, his own latent psychic abilities awaken.
And it's like this chain reaction that throws the whole world into chaos. Suddenly, Tetsuo is not just a troubled teenager anymore. He's this force to be reckoned with, and everyone, the government, the military, even his own friends are trying to figure out how to contain him.
Yeah.
What do you think Otomo is saying about power here?
I think Akira really digs into this idea of power and control, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because Tetsuo's transformation isn't just about gaining these psychic abilities. It's about what happens when someone who's always felt powerless, marginalized, suddenly gains like immense power.
Right.
It taps into this very human fear, don't you think?
Absolutely. And it's not like Tetsuo handles this newfound power particularly well, right?
Yeah.
He just starts spiraling out of control. He becomes more and more unstable, more violent. It's almost like the power itself is corrupting him.
Oh, yeah. It's as if the power just amplifies all those insecurities and resentments that were already there.
Yeah.
And it turns him into like a twisted reflection of those authority figures that he was rebelling against.
Yeah.
And it creates this really heartbreaking conflict between him and Kaneda.
Yeah, because Kaneda can see what's happening to his friend, and he's trying to help, but Tetsuo just pushes him away, convinced that everyone's out to control him. And that tension, that struggle between their friendship and these forces that are pulling them apart, it's just so raw and powerful.
Yeah. There's one scene that really captures that. You remember when Kaneda confronts Tetsuo, gun in hand? He sees what his friend has become, but he hesitates. He just can't bring himself to pull the trigger.
Oh, yeah. It's such a human moment. Like,
Yeah.
so much conflict, so much anguish.
It shows that Kaneda, even with all his, bluster, he really cares about Tetsuo. He still sees the good in him, even when it seems like everyone else has given up. And I think that's one of the things that makes Akira so compelling. It's not just about these epic battles and psychic powers. It's about the complexities of human relationships, the struggle to hold on to those connections, even when everything's falling apart.
You're right. And that's something the manga does really well. It expands on that, aspect a lot more than the film does. But we can talk more about that later. I think for now, it's important to highlight some of the other factions at play here because, it's not just the showdown between Kaneda and Tetsuo.
Right. There's this whole web of intrigue and conspiracy going on. We've got the military led by the ruthless Colonel Shikishima, and he sees Tetsuo as a weapon to be exploited.
Right. And then there's the resistance, this group fighting against the government's oppressive regime. They believe that Akira, the mysterious figure that Tetsuo is so obsessed with, is the key to liberating Neo-Tokyo.
And then you've got Lady Miyako, who leads this group that's seeking some kind of spiritual balance in the middle of all this chaos.
It's like everyone's vying for control, trying to impose their own vision of the future on Neo-Tokyo.
Exactly. And this clash of ideologies, all these different factions competing for power, just adds another layer to the story. Because it's not just about good versus evil. It's about these different visions of what the future could look like and how far people are willing to go to achieve their goals.
And one scene that really highlights this is the Resistance's their escape with Akira. It's this incredible action sequence, this chase through the sewers, hover bikes, a plunge into the canal, pure adrenaline, really.
Yeah, but even in that moment of, supposed triumph, you start to see hints of doubt, of conflict within the resistance. Yeah, their desperation to use Akira as a weapon, even if it means unleashing this, potentially destructive power, raises some questions about their motives.
So even the so-called good guys have their own agendas, their own flaws.
Right.
And as Tetsuo's powers grow, he's dragging everyone deeper into this web of intrigue and danger. It's like the whole world is holding its breath, waiting to see what he'll do next.
And we'll see that as we dig deeper into Akira. The manga really doesn't shy away from exploring the consequences of those actions, both for Tetsuo and for the world around him. So we're back diving deeper into the world of Akira, where we left off with Neo-Tokyo kind of teetering on the brink, right? Tetsuo's powers are out of control, and it feels like everybody's caught in this whirlwind of consequences.
Yeah, things definitely got intense fast. But one thing that's always struck me about Akira is how it goes beyond, just the action. There are these philosophical questions about power, about corruption, even like reality itself. It's what makes Akira something more than just a typical action story, wouldn't you say?
Well, absolutely. And I think it's one of the things that makes it so relevant even today. One thing that really stands out, especially compared to other cyberpunk stories, is how Otomo brings in these elements of mysticism and spirituality.
Right.
Like Lady Miyako. She's not just a spiritual leader, right? She's a survivor of that original Akira project and a powerful psychic herself.
Yeah, and she understands the potential of these abilities better than maybe anyone. And the danger, too, of course. It's interesting to me how she tries to help Tetsuo, to guide him, to control his powers, but he's just so consumed by rage and paranoia at this point.
He sees it all as a threat.
Yeah.
Any kind of control, I mean. It's kind of ironic, isn't it? He starts out as this rebel fighting the system, but then as his powers grow, he becomes the very thing he was trying to escape from.
It's like the power itself is like twisting him, warping how he sees everything, and it leads to some really, really disturbing scenes, like the attack on Lady Miyako's temple.
Oh man, that scene, it's just brutal. The contrast between, the peacefulness of the monks, the sheer violence of that attack, it's jarring. It's like a reminder of what unchecked power can do, how destructive it can be.
Yeah, for sure. But even in all that chaos, we see moments of humanity, of resilience. Like Kaneda's ally, she takes Tetsuo's lieutenant hostage. She stops more bloodshed from happening.
She could have killed him easily, but she shows restraint, compassion, even when faced with that kind of brutality. It's a good reminder that even in these really dark moments, there's still a choice to make, a way to break that cycle of violence.
It's a good point. And while all this is happening in Neo-Tokyo, the rest of the world is, reacting to this escalating crisis, right? It's not just a local thing anymore, it's global. And Otomo really explores those anxieties, the power dynamics at play.
Yeah, and that's where Lieutenant Yamada comes in. He's this American operative sent to assess the situation. He's the outsider looking in, skeptical at first, but then he has to confront the reality of Akira's power.
His arc is great. I love that scene where he's captured by the cult and brought before Tetsuo. He's expecting, torture, the worst. But Tetsuo just launches into this rant about the limits of human understanding. It's like totally unexpected.
Yeah, it's a turning point for Yamada.
Yeah.
He realizes Tetsuo isn't just this power-hungry kid. He's struggling with these big questions,
Yeah.
about the nature of reality, the meaning of existence even. And Yamada has to kind of confront his own assumptions about everything.
And as Tetsuo becomes more isolated, surrounded by people who just feed his paranoia, we see how destructive that power really becomes.
It's scary, actually, the volunteers he uses in his experiments. It's like he's crossed this ethical line, playing God, promising them power and enlightenment, but he leads them to their deaths, essentially.
It's a dark path, no question. But even with all the darkness, there's this hope, this resistance. Kaneda doesn't give up on his friend. Lady Miyako, even after the attack on her temple, she still believes in the possibility of redemption.
It's like their belief, this unwavering belief in the ability to change, to grow, that's what counters Tetsuo's, downward spiral.
Mm-hmm.
And that belief leads to a major discovery.
Right. Kaneda finds the old Olympic Stadium where the original Akira project took place. And he finds this hidden passage leading to this huge underground facility. And there, in a cryogenic chamber, is Akira, the source of everything, frozen in time.
It shifts the whole story. Now, it's not just about containing Tetsuo. It's about understanding Akira, his power, what'll happen if he wakes up.
And just when you think you know where it's going, Otomo throws this curveball. The American military, they're afraid of what'll happen if Akira wakes up. So they decide to launch a preemptive strike on Neo-Tokyo.
Yeah, orbital lasers, genetically engineered soldiers, they're going all out, and the stakes get even higher. Now everyone has to choose a side, but it's interesting how this leads to some unexpected alliances.
Yeah, like Colonel Shikishima and Kaneda, even Lady Miyako, they put their differences aside to survive. It shows how skilled Otomo is at, creating characters, these complex relationships, even within all the action and chaos.
Yeah, and as the battle rages on, Tetsuo starts to unravel. He's consumed by power, by paranoia. He's haunted by visions, by the voices of those he's killed. He has to confront what he's become.
It's tragic, his downfall. It's a warning about power, about staying true to yourself. But as Tetsuo is headed towards self-destruction, there's this glimmer of hope, and it comes from a surprising place.
Akira awakens, but it's not what everyone feared. He reaches out to Tetsuo, offers him a chance at redemption, a way out of the pain and the violence.
Welcome back to our Akira deep dive. We left off with Akira waking up, but not in this, destructive way that everyone was expecting. It's more like he's offering this new path, some kind of different ending.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that makes this story so powerful, I think. Akira doesn't judge. He doesn't punish Tetsuo for all the chaos he's caused. He sees the pain. The fear and insecurity that drove Tetsuo to do all those terrible things.
It's like he sees past the monster, right? Back to the scared kid that Tetsuo used to be. That's pretty amazing. It shows how Otomo really explores empathy. Even the people who seem like, completely lost, they still have a story. There's a reason for their pain.
Exactly. And it's not just Akira who shows this compassion. Kaneda, even after everything Tetsuo has done, he never gives up on him.
I keep thinking about that scene where Kaneda gets into the Great Tokyo Empire. He's got that laser rifle, the one that could, take Tetsuo out in a second. But he hesitates. He still believes, I think, that the old Tetsuo, his friend, is still in there somewhere.
It's about friendship, right? Believing that even the darkest heart can change.
Yeah.
And that belief is what leads Kaneda to that final fight. Not as enemies, but almost like brothers.
And that battle. Oh, man. That's where the manga gets really, really epic. It's not even a fight anymore. It's like this cosmic dance of psychic energy. It's warping reality, tearing apart time and space. Otomo's art in that sequence is unbelievable. It's these swirls of light and shadow. It's hard to even describe.
It's amazing. It captures how huge this conflict is. It's not just two people fighting. It's these forces of creation and destruction, order and chaos, all mixed up together. And then Akira emerges, not just watching anymore.
Yeah.
He's shaping the future of Neo-Tokyo.
And here's where things get really interesting. Akira doesn't choose sides. He doesn't destroy Tetsuo. He doesn't, join the military or the resistance. He's above it all. He becomes this force of pure energy, like a reset button for everything.
Right. It goes against how we usually think about these stories, good versus evil. Otomo challenges us to see that it's not that simple. There are no easy answers. The future is complicated and uncertain.
So what happens to Neo-Tokyo? Does it get destroyed by Akira's power? Does Tetsuo find redemption? The ending left me with so many questions.
Well, that's part of what makes Akira so great. Otomo leaves it open to interpretation. We see hints of this new society built out of the ruins, shaped by what happened, but we don't know the details. It's like he's saying, here's the start, now you imagine what comes next.
I like that. That's what makes Akira so So timeless, I think. It's not just about psychic powers and dystopias. It's about what we're capable of, the good and the bad. It makes us think about the choices we make, the future we build.
But here is like a mirror, right? It shows us our fears and our hopes. It asks us to think about what matters, our relationships, our choices, and our responsibility to make the world a better place. What do you think? What did you take away from it? What does the future hold? That's the real power of this story. It keeps us talking, asking questions, long after we finish reading.
That's a great way to put it. And that wraps up our deep dive into Akira. This is just the start, though. Go read the manga, watch the film again, and keep thinking about those questions. What does the future hold? That's for us to decide.